So in terms of LTE, there are over 1,000 essential patents that are included that cover LTE technology, which means that vendors are going to have to license these technologies and pass on the costs to the consumer, to the operator. And the royalties for this are high right now, and we believe they're going to keep being high for a long time to come, keeping equipment prices higher than we hope they should be. And just to give you a sense, at present, there's not even a single patent pool that covers this. There's multiple competing interests. A lot of the big guys own patents in this technology and will not come into any patent pools. So there's going to be a lot of complexity, and that's going to cause higher prices as vendors essentially reserve cash to pay royalties in the future. So you look at all this and you say, wow, there's a lot of things that are sort of are in the way of a small operator for deploying this technology. And my honest opinion about this is that most of these are going to change. We think LTE is going to be a fantastic technology long term, but it's just simply not quite there yet, and it's just a matter of waiting this out. Maybe one more word about this. One of our customers was recently looking at possible migration to LTE, and when their current network is WiMAX based, and they were looking at device costs, and essentially they came back shocked at the cost of about 3x the prices of the devices that they're for the same equivalent type of device that they're using right now in their network. So I think that's a good example of what a small operator is looking at in that space today. So the news is not all bad, of course. There is another 4G wireless technology out there. It's the ugly stepsister at this point, but WiMAX is a very, very viable, mature, and successful technology from a network deployment perspective. There's large networks of these deployed globally by mainline operators. You all guys know of Sprint and KVI and Yota and many others. Networks that support millions of users in some cases. So technology is mature, and the nice thing about it is that the ecosystem is very vibrant and robust, meaning that a company such as PureWave can actually do what it is that we set out to do, sort of build fantastic base stations and not worry about the rest of it. Let the ecosystem come up with the rest of the network components. So there's a lot of these vendors out there. If you're looking at base station manufacturers, there's probably 5 or 6 solid ones. If you're looking at gateways, there's multiple gateway vendors out there. You're looking at device makers, there's literally dozens of them out there. The technology is pretty simple to deploy. There's not all that core complexity that we talked about with respect to LTE. And the spectrum options are broad. So I think those include unlicensed bands, of course, but I think a great example of that is for any of you guys that are calling in from Europe or South America or other places in the world where the 3.5 gigahertz band is a big deal. A lot of WiMAX operators use that band. That band has been approved for LTE, but it's going to take several years before any products, for example, are available for that band. So spectrum choices for WiMAX these days are pretty broad, and there are a lot of interesting and different options that you guys can look at. So again, going to the issue of intellectual property rights, once again, they're very well understood, and they're affordable, meaning that the costs for equipment have dropped considerably in recent years, and are now pretty much affordable to any type of operator. One of the important things that maybe we should relate to at this point are the issue of the business models. And I think one of the things that WiMAX does for the first time for the smaller operator is allowing the ability to deploy more sophisticated business models, sort of promising your customers certain SLAs, implementing advanced QoS into your network, supporting mobility in your network, even as a smaller operator. And I think that's some of the things that WiMAX as a 4G technology sort of brings to the table for smaller operators and allows them to compete in a market where users are accustomed to, broadband on the go kind of thing. So, let me maybe spend a few minutes talking about the issue of small cells, and I think that is something that there's a lot of talk about these days, and the definitions are pretty broad. But we believe here at PureWave that small cells are really going to be central to the way that 4G networks are deployed, primarily because these are deployed for data, and they're data-centric. So, in the past, what we all used to do was build cells that reached as far as humanly possible. If I still have customers that come to us and say, can you do 50 miles? And that point, we believe, becomes moot when you're talking about 4G networks. So sure, in some cases, if you have very specific types of applications, if you're in a vertical market, maybe the range becomes hugely important to you. But in an environment where your customers are demanding ever more data, we believe that the emphasis on range decreases dramatically in favor of the issue of capacity and delivering capacity to your customers. And I think this is a great place to sort of tell you guys about the discussion that I've had a couple of days ago with one of our customers, which is a rural operator here in California, who, I asked him, how's business going? He said, well, because of the economy, our customer base is pretty unchanged. We're not growing as fast as we used to. But even though our business, our customer roster hasn't increased, the amount of traffic my network is passing has increased, has doubled over the past year. And let me tell you something. We expect that to sort of continue to happen. And this is sort of a chart here, a projection that I grabbed from Cisco's website. This is essentially a study that they did, projection of where they expect, the growth of data to go in the coming years. I'm not sure if you guys can see all the details in there. The print is a little small. But, no matter if you agree with the specific numbers or not, I think the trend is something that we're all seeing in the market, which is an explosion in the network capacity requirements. The appetite that users are showing to data growth is insatiable. I think these guys can pretty much use up more data than we can build out for them at any given point in time. So, this needs to be tackled on multiple fronts, including on the QoS side, on the SLA side, and policy management, but it also needs to be tackled in terms of the way the networks are structured, the way networks are built. And we believe small cells, cells that are designed to cover a smaller number of users and share the capacity among them, such that each customer has more capacity. I think that is part of the vision that we see for the market. So let me tell you a little bit about that. We think small cells are a key component of the solution to this explosion in data demand. And again, the main idea here is to build your network in a way that maximizes the spectral efficiency. Sort of deploy your network, deploy many cells using the same available frequency, each cell covering a smaller area, covering a smaller number of users, but giving each person more data capacity. Of course, you don't have to tell me. I hear you guys, even though your lines are muted. I can hear you saying, this means a hell of a lot more cells. it means a lot more cost. And I think you guys are very right in pointing this out. This model does create some complex business problems that need to be addressed. And of course, the number one is the equipment cost. Of course, there are also operational challenges here. How do you manage these networks with potentially thousands of cells that are deployed all over the place? What do you do with backhaul? How is backhaul available to all these sites? Where do you even get the vertical assets to mount all of these devices? And we think there's going to be many different ways to address this. In terms of, let's maybe start with the direction of backhaul here. But backhaul, we think there's going to be all kinds of backhaul, from fiber to Ethernet to microwave, and vendors are going to be offering solutions that cover all these and more. In terms of network management, we're going to be seeing the rise of new technologies that are meant to assist operators in managing large numbers of cells and helping them deploy large numbers of cells with minimal planning. SON, self-organizing networks, are going to be a key component of this. And of course, the issue of equipment cost. As these cells get smaller, the cost of each cell is expected to decrease substantially in the coming years. In terms of vertical assets, I think what you're going to see is a deployment strategy not completely different from what we used to see with Muni Wi-Fi type of applications, where essentially any vertical asset becomes a place to deploy your network, from rooftops to utility poles to building walls and so forth. Hey guys, I think I'm seeing some questions come up, but I can't see the actual questions. Guys from Moonblink, can you guys see the questions themselves?
Yeah, I can see them on this side.
Okay, so unfortunately I can only see that there are questions, but I can't see what they are. So maybe at the end, we'll just answer all those questions, and you guys can read them off to me, and I'll do my best to answer.
Okay, we'll work on that on this end.
Okay, so essentially, I think my point being, there's a lot of challenges that are coming, and we know they're coming, and the industry will offer solutions to address these. We think this is a very, very exciting and interesting future, and those challenges need to be addressed clearly. Let me tell you a little bit about some of the products that we have and how they apply to some of these. We have other products and other solutions that will be coming that will address a lot of these issues that I raised today. I think the important. I'm not going to make obviously product announcements at this point, but we are aware of these challenges, and we think they're critical to solve, and we will be announcing some products in the near future. So let me tell you about some of our current products and how they apply to some of the things that we've talked about so far. So our flagship product is a base station called the PureWave Quantum 6600. By the way, we name our base stations the 4 digits that you see, the 6600. We name our products by 4-digit convention. The first 2 digits being number of transmit and receive antennas. So the 6600 has 6 transmit and receive antennas, and the last 2 digits are the frequencies. So 6625 is a 2.5 gigahertz product with 6 transmit and receive antennas. So in terms of that product and how it applies, that product is available on all the standard WiMAX frequencies, plus 365. We're also introducing it in 3.3 and 3.8 shortly. It's got 2 watts per antenna, and I need at this point to give the caveat that obviously this is subject to local regulations, and of course I'm talking about 365 in the U.S.